Happy Monday, everybody, and welcome to the Sean O'Connell Show. We got like an extra 2.5 minutes of show today because the Kyle Whittingham presser weekly, every Monday during football season, first one today. And those of you who've been listening long enough know that Coach Witt, he doesn't like to start on time. He likes to start 2 minutes ahead of on time. A little early. So wanted to make sure we were here with you. It is game week. The long, dark, cold time without college football in our state is almost over. Hopefully this weekend you got a little smattering, a little taste, a little appetize. And Coach Witt's at the podium now.
Very well. Okay, season is here. Going down to the Rose Bowl in 5 days for a game against the Bruins. Program is very familiar to us, although I'd venture to say probably 90% of the players are different from when we played them 2 years ago the last time. And so even though we're very familiar with the venue and the program, it'll be very new as far as personnel and the guys we're going to face. So, we know they got a new offensive coordinator. Come from Indiana, so a lot of film study on the Indiana scheme last year. Defense coordinator's back, new special teams coordinator, big, strong, athletic quarterback transfer from Tennessee. So we're doing like any opener. There's a lot of unknowns. Even when you're playing a team that has had very little turnover, there's still a lot of unknowns and things that you're going to have to adjust for in game and not at halftime, well before that. So there may be some adjustments we have to make, very likely in the first quarter. And typically in an opener, teams that do the best job of that have the best chance of winning. So hopefully we'll be on our game as far as that goes. So questions? What are you doing, Paul? Okay, all right. Justin, yeah, we better start off with Justin. I forgot about that. Thank you, Justin. Appreciate you coming, Justin.
Okay, Justin says, coming out of fall camp and after last year's struggles, what do you see the identity of the team being this year?
Well, there's a lot of new faces, I can tell you that. So 50% of the guys we got, weren't a part of what went on last year. But we're excited about things we're doing on offense. It's a new scheme and new quarterback, and I think there'll be some hopefully some good stuff there. Defense has been very solid all through fall camp, and although they've had some difficulty stopping the offense at times, so hopefully that's a good indicator for our offense. But you never know what you're going to get until you line up and play somebody else. You can only learn so much playing against yourselves. But I know our guys that were here last year and went through that debacle, I guess, for lack of a better word, are excited to get back on the field and get going and try to make a better showing.
Now, speaking with that, the identity, how important is it to establish that offensive identity in week one as just letting it kind of evolve as the season goes? What's your
Well, I think there'll probably be a little of both. We know who we want to be and what the scheme entails and what the emphases, whatever that word is. But it'll also be an evolution. I mean, that's just how it is when you have again half a new team. You don't know a whole lot about a lot of the guys, and you got to see how they react in the game situation and who starts to come on and make plays. And every year seems to be two or three guys will really surprise you, and a couple guys that thought you were going to be able to count on don't produce as well. So we'll see how that goes.
Kyle, you kind of already hearkened on just the struggle that you had last year, but I kind of want to go back to the transfer portal. Does the opportunity, I guess, to reload to the transfer portal every single season kind of make it more enticing to come back in your shoes when you were considering?
That's a good question. First of all, with the two portal windows, it's tough to sometimes manage your roster because you got to do it twice a year, and you don't know exactly what you're going to come away with. But the roster or the portal has definitely it definitely cuts both ways. We feel like we did a good job in the portal this year, and then of course the finances come into play as well. Portal guys are more expensive than retaining your own guys, and so but you can't just retain your own guys, or you'll run out of guys because they'll eventually graduate, and you got to continually replenish with new guys. Typically high school guys are priced pretty high as well, and so it's a balancing act. I mean, it's they have the NFL has the capologist guys, that do the manage the cap, and that's essentially what we have to do, and it's a challenge. It's a challenge, but the portal certainly allows you to go out and cover up, or not cover up, but replenish and get, if you're thin at a position or whatever, that helps you in that regard. But it's certainly a different ballgame than it used to be, and it's not going to. Well, I guess it could return somewhat to how it used to be, but they're going to have a major overhaul of the rules and how things are structured.
Kyle, you brought in a number of receivers through the transfer portal. One was Tobias Merriweather. What gives you confidence that he can become a guy that you need on offense this year?
Well, what we've seen in practice gives us confidence. He's got a big catch radius, 6'5", or close to it, 200 pounds. Very smooth, athletic guy. Runs real well, and just has a real knack for playing the contested ball, as you would expect with a guy with that frame. So what we've seen in practice has been very encouraging. But again, you got to do it on game day.
Kyle, you've opened up against FCS opponents and power conferences teams. What are the advantages of opening up against a team like UCLA as opposed to an FCS opponent?
Well, get your players' attention right away. They've been pointing towards this game since last January, essentially. So it's a little more of an attention getter in that respect. There's pros and cons, and it's a level playing field. I mean, if UCLA's in the same boat, so I don't know if there's a preferred way. If I was going to say what I absolutely prefer, is probably maybe to have maybe a lesser opponent that you can find out who you are early on. But I think everyone probably feels the same way. But I don't know if college is going to ever go to a preseason, like the NFL, and that wouldn't be a bad idea, in my opinion. Have a couple preseason games that don't count on the record. But we'll see.
Kyle, you said this is the best offensive line you've had, which brings up the question: how good is UCLA's defensive line, and then their front seven?
Yeah, they're good up front. 58, I believe, is the number. That's their best guy. The interior guy is a really good D tackle. And UCLA, they're going to have big, strong, athletic guys. They always do. They always have ever since we joined the Pac-12, and so they never have a shortage of athletes or physicality. So it'll be a big challenge for our guys. But again, I stand by that this, on paper, this is the best offensive line we've had. We got to go out and prove it. But you got two guys that are, hopefully high draft choices, and three seniors inside. I mean, there's no reason why we shouldn't be very solid up front, and that's really the starting point for the offense this year is leaning on that offensive line.
Kyle, you've gone through spring, now fall camp. How do you feel about your decision to come back as we hear our game week?
Good. I mean, it's if I didn't enjoy it, I wouldn't have come back. If I wasn't having the passion for the game and the energy, and because you better have a lot of energy for this job, that. So no second thoughts whatsoever. I'm excited to get the season going and watch these guys play and see what we can do.
UCLA has a similar situation. You guys, new quarterback, new offensive coordinator. What stands out about their offense on film?
Well, the quarterback, first of all, you watch him at Tennessee last year, and he's a playmaker. He's he can throw the ball, he can run the ball. He's a true dual threat guy. He's a tough runner too. He's not looking for a place to fall down or step out of bounds. He dips his shoulder and has some physicality to his runs. A lot like our guy, Devin. Devin is the same way. He rushed for over 1,100 or whatever it was last year, and so there's other than stature, Devin's more of a compact guy, thicker, shorter guy, whereas their quarterback is like I said, 6'6" or thereabouts. So, but he's impressive. He's got a big arm, and he's a specimen. That's he looks like Cam Newton, got a stature. That's what he looks like out there.
Kyle, Nico, UCLA's quarterback, held out in the spring and obviously ended up at UCLA. I'm curious just on your thoughts on that situation, but also harken on the idea of multi-year contracts, kind of stopping the idea of players entering the portal.
Yeah, well, I don't really have any thoughts on his holdouts. I mean, that's his business, and I wasn't real close to that situation, monitoring it or anything like that. So I don't know. I don't really have a take on that. What was the second part of your question?
The idea of multi-year contracts.
Multi-year contracts. I think there's some merit to that, but I think somehow we've got to get to the point where, and again, I say a minor league NFL, not technically, but theoretically, where we're just the same type of setup, same structure, salary cap, that type of thing. Which with it will probably come a union, players union, all that. I mean, what we do right now is not sustainable. I don't believe it is personally, and so they've got to figure out a way to get some sanity to the whole thing. And the prices are spiraling out of control for the NIL. It's not NIL, rev share monies now, and so it's still in a place where I don't think you can continue this way without some major changes.
You talked about needing to establish the run with this team, this offense. How important, though, is it to have success with those wide receivers, and what does success look like that way?
Well, it's very important, and the way that Devin runs the football, with the quarterback run game, we think that's going to force teams to really load the box in order to be able to combat that, which in turn opens up the throw game, and so they work off of each other, but it's important to be balanced on offense. I don't think it's critical to be really good at one and just both subpar at the other. I think balance is the key to all great offenses, and being able to make teams respect both the run game and the throw game, I think, is what you're looking for.
So you mentioned that Nico is a true dual threat quarterback, and you've also used the same phrase to talk about Devin.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think having Devin as your guys' starting quarterback is going to help this defense, as you go up against a true dual threat quarterback in week one?
Help our defense?
Yes.
Well, they've seen him all spring and all fall, and so and that's obviously a plus for us. We're still, best guess scenario with the coordinator. Is he going to bring everything he did in Indiana to, you say, is there going to be different influences? Like I said, there's a lot of unknowns going into an opener, but certainly helped us because the Q run game is part of what we do, and so that was obviously something that would be a good preparation aspect for this game.
Hello, Coach.
Hey, PK.
Could you
Very stoic and old.
could you put a percentage on Devin's design runs as opposed to him improvising?
Like what percent of the time he carries the ball will be designed as opposed to?
Per game, sir.
Yeah, he's very elusive, breaking the pocket, I can tell you right now. So it might be close to 50-50 in that regard as far as design pure QB runs and him just getting out of jams. I'll say 50-50. That's a safe starting point.
Kyle, you're getting older now.
I sure am. You got that right.
A couple old guys in the back row.
Yeah, I agree with that too.
How are you different now than you were 3 decades ago?
How am I different? Gosh, that's a good question. I've probably mellowed a little bit, I would think. I think if you talk to some of the guys when I first came on board as a head coach, it was very intense and very maybe too intense. But hopefully I know I've become a better listener through the years, and being able to not have knee-jerk reactions and be able to think things through a little better than I did at the very beginning, and patient, a little more patient than I used to be. How about that? Yeah.
This will be the last question here in the front seat.
Ooh, Keeler, all right.
Coach, the game 0 action, there were with Iowa State and Kansas State,
Mhm.
a couple broken down coverages. How important is having experience and chemistry with your defensive secondary against this UCLA team?
Well, that's always important, and the secondary is the first place that can get you beat. I mean, if you're going to, you give up big plays, and so that's, you blow a gap in a run game, it might be a 15-yard gain instead of a 5-yard gain, but you blow something in the secondary, it's usually a touchdown. So that's obviously a critical component of your defense. I wasn't able to see that game. We were practicing right during it, so I didn't have a chance to see it. But we feel like we've got an experienced secondary coming back. The scheme has remained the same for years and years, so the learning curve of those guys was virtually nothing. You know, the new guys had some learning curve, obviously, but we feel like we're in good shape back there, and hopefully, and in an opener, you're going to make mistakes. There's no doubt about it. And if you can just play with great effort, that covers up a lot of the errors that are going to happen. Did you say last question? I'm out of here. Free. Okay. All right, guys.
15 minutes almost exactly, almost to the minute there from Kyle Whittingham at the podium. First official weekly presser ahead of the UCLA matchup, which, of course, is the opener of this 2025 football campaign. At Real OC Sports, if you're following me on Twitter, you've already seen the two questions I have posed for today. It is game week. Give me your best opening week, opening game memory as a Utah football fan. 877-353-0700 at Real OC Sports. And also, we don't know exactly what all the uniform combinations are going to look like all year long. I look forward to it every year. The equipment staff at the university does an incredible job of putting together great looks. I know that some of you raise your eyebrow and say, why do you care about that? Well, because I do. I like the uniform. I think it's a cool uniform. I like the logos. I like the color scheme. I like the hand-painteds being a thing that once a year everyone can get behind and get excited about, or debate on whether or not that's something we should be excited about. I like it all. So start one, bench one, cut one. We're doing a start, bench, cut on a Monday for the Utah logos. I think I know exactly how this is going to go. So far on Twitter, it's gone a way that mostly I thought it was going to go. But start one, bench one, cut one. The drum and feather, or for you who like to be politically correct, the circle and feather. The interlocking U's, which is a heritage logo that we brought back, I mean, somebody tell me, 10 years ago, and has really gained a lot of steam. And then the block U that defined some of the best eras of Utah football, which is really my only attachment to it, and is still on the side of the stadium, the west-facing facade, the two giant block U's, the south end zone back of the video board has the block U. I think inevitably those things will be swapped out probably for an interlocking U, but for now they're there. And if you want to, you could throw swoop in with the interlocking U. It was kind of like that 90s to early 2000s effort in branding that might not be the best era for teams. But in any case, start one, bench one, cut one. Tell me what you think. 877-353-0700 at Real OC Sports. The two questions are the start, bench, cut, and the best memory you've had opening game for as a Utah football fan. Interestingly enough, a lot of the responses so far have been Michigan related. A lot of folks weighing in on Twitter and saying the trip to the Big House and getting a win over Michigan was the ultimate experience as a Utah football fan. A lot of folks talking about, and this one is one of my favorites. I think, what was it, 2015, Jim Harbaugh's debut as the Michigan head coach. The khakis on the Michigan sideline at Rice-Eccles Stadium, and everybody wanted to watch that game, not because of Utah. Everyone was talking about that game, not because of Kyle Whittingham. I think it was the Fox crew. The bus was wrapped in khaki. They had done a khaki theme on the talent bus. The promotional everything was khakis. This is Jim Harbaugh returning to college football. The apocryphal story is Kyle Whittingham allegedly made a phone call and said, get that bus that's wrapped in effectively Michigan colors off of my campus. They had parked it in the west parking lot at Rice-Eccles Stadium as the promotional tool. And so the story goes that Kyle Whittingham said, "Get that ugly-ass thing off of my campus. We are the home team. This is not a neutral situation you guys are putting forth." It's not like it's the black and orange game day bus. It's not like it was branded for some particular company that's a big sponsor. I mean, if it's a red Coca-Cola bus, you leave it there as a Utah fan anyway. Probably, even if it's blue, as long as it's like Allstate Insurance or something, you're like, all right, whatever. That's the color of the insurance company. But this was Michigan promotional material, and according to multiple sources, Kyle Whittingham was like, nope, get that away from my stadium. If you want to gas up the Michigan Wolverines, the away team, you can do it off campus. You can do it somewhere else. And that's what ended up happening. They moved the bus, whether or not it's because Coach Witt was the one who made the call or a university president or an athletic director. But that is a great story as a Utah football fan. And obviously we know what happened in the game. Pick six, dramatic finish. Utah wins, spoils the debut. And that one came in from several different people at Real OC Sports on Twitter as the game that people really define Utah football opening week. There were some who weighed in. Several of you said, well, what about that trip to the swamp? The result is not what we wanted it to be, right? The result is one of those things that everyone involved would love to have back. I think the coaching staff would have prepared the team a little bit differently. I think camp would have been conducted in a little bit more of a physical manner. I think that Cam Rising would like to have that last throwback. I mean, all of it. But it was a great football game, and it was at the Swamp in the heart of SEC country. And I know we're supposed to only care about and only celebrate wins as college football fans, but sometimes the experience is epic one way or another. 9367 on the text line says, best opening game 2010 overtime win against Pitt. Brian Blecken's pick, epic. 9708 says, number one, Utah beating Michigan both of those years. Number two, 2016 beating BYU opening play, pick six, 2016. Number three, going to Florida to watch Utah and the Gators. But the ambiance, the loss, yeah, of course, but the ambiance was elite. 9765, traveling to those Utah State games in Logan in the early 2000s with my dad, always stopping at Fresh Peaches in Brigham City. Man, that's a good one. 7889, touchdown from Bryson Barnes to Money Parks on the first drive of the game against Florida. Your favorite opening game, first day, football season is back memory. We're hoping we get those, and it's not going to be at Rice-Eccles, which, of course, diminishes a little bit. Hopefully plenty of you are making a trip down to the Rose Bowl. 877-353-0700 at Real OC Sports. Tell me how you feel. Tell me what you think. Utah football is back. Give me your best memories, and start bench cut the Utah football logos. Drum and feather, interlocking U, block U, or swoop, which I'll consider an alternate. James Peterson behind the glass, as is usually the case. James, how was your weekend?
It was great. It was great. It was even better that we had a big-time college football game on the docket.
Oh, we got to talk about that.
That was a fun game, OC. I mean, the teams were certainly not up totally in mid-season form. There was some rust there, but also, I mean, you heard Dave Passion. It's probably more of an excuse he's trying to make for why it was sloppy more than it's. I mean, it's got to be on the teams and the players more than the playing conditions. But you heard Dave Passion throughout the broadcast talking about it's wet. Not typically, the players aren't used to playing in this kind of weather, especially in the season opener. But still, like, you can still hold on to the ball better, like they did. But aside from that really the first half was most of that where you saw a lot of that rust. Once they really seemed to hit their stride mid-third quarter, OC, it was a terrific fourth quarter, and really all you can ask for, even if it's not a very well-played game, if it's a competitive game throughout on week 0, and it's the first week 0 game with two ranked with a matchup of ranked teams, I feel like it lived up to the billing considering what it was. I think you can ignore the sloppiness of the first 2.5 quarters and really take away from that game, come out of that game going, that was a great opening game for the Big 12. I wish that the higher ranked team had come out on top, OC, because that would have been even better for the Big 12. But it would have been a wash anyway,
well,
probably.
Look, it was a perfect little snapshot of exactly what Big 12 football is going to be this year, all right? If you look at all preseason prognostication, everyone says Kansas State's going to be the better football team than Iowa State. Iowa State's going to be good, but Kansas State's going to be the better football team than Iowa State, and that Avery Johnson specifically is going to be the better quarterback than Rocco Becht. And
that was proven wrong.
And that's how it's going to play out. And look,
the team's thing remains to be seen, but as far as the better quarterback, I mean, Rocco Becht, in my opinion, really outplayed Avery Johnson.
I went on a show, a betting show that our guy Jeff Schwartz does last week, and his co-host was just like, all right, we know that there's like 8 teams that could be in it in the Big 12 conference. Give me the 2 teams that you think are actually playing in the game. And I should have been, but I wasn't fully expecting that question. But I said, you know what? I think that Iowa State is in another year where they're also Rans, but they're really, really close to getting it done because of Rocco Becht. I think Rocco Becht, of all of the quarterbacks returning in the Big 12 conference, and there's a bunch of really good ones. All right, Sawyer Robertson's going to be good. Avery Johnson is going to figure some things out. I think that the Hoover kid at TCU is going to be good. Obviously, Sam Levitt at Arizona State, you got to reckon with. But I think Rocco Becht is as big of a problem or a bigger problem than any of the quarterbacks in this conference for Utah and anyone else who thinks that they're going to be able to handle whatever gets thrown at them. And Rocco Becht started off his season with a huge win, made important plays, and that guy is going to be in the conversation as the first-team all-conference quarterback in a year where, look, that means something in the Big 12 this year. If you're the first-team all-conference quarterback in a bad Sun Belt that's got like one quarterback, not that sexy, right? Last year, if you're the first-team all-conference quarterback in the Big 12, there was some good quarterback play in the conference. This year, I think it's going to be the same thing. And Rocco Becht outplayed Avery Johnson, and ultimately what matters is Rocco Becht outplayed the Kansas State Wildcat defense that people have a lot of expectations for and helped his Cyclones with an upset. And there is the little, like, print out the Polaroid, wave the floppy around, hang it on something. That's what the Big 12 conference is going to look like this year, where the team that is like not supposed to be doing this is going to find a way to do this, and the team that is supposed to win is going to look good but find ways to shoot themselves in the foot, and it's going to happen on multiple occasions. In the rain, teams were having a hard time with ball security. I'm actually amazed that neither quarterback threw an interception.
Yeah, I guess I didn't realize that in real time because there were so many turnovers. It was I thought in real time, like, oh yeah, they've thrown a pick, but it wasn't picks, it was fumbles. That's the only turnovers. Muff punt too.
Avery Johnson, great numbers in this game. What a tough weekend for the family. For his dad and his brother released a statement. They got in a fight in the parking lot at Aviva Stadium, not with other people, not
each other.
Not dad and brother were responding to somebody jawing from the Iowa State side, but they fought each other. And they've extended apologies and said they've worked out their differences and all that kind of stuff.
Jeez.
That's a rough look for the family. Avery Johnson is going to be a problem. I mean, his stat line, his numbers look really, really good in this game, but you need to win these games.
Yeah, I mean, when I say it was clear to me that Rocco Becht outplayed Avery Johnson, I don't want it construed that I think Avery Johnson had a bad game. It's just one was clearly better, and that's a problem if you're Kansas State. You want your quarterback. You need your quarterback, who's very highly touted at this point, and deservedly so, to be winning those battles against or at least be even with another high-profile quarterback in the conference.
Here's the thing. I think that the stat lines in Big 12 play and in college football in general, they're going to tell you a story that you have to at least watch, like go back and watch the hour-long YouTube cut down, right? That shows you all the important plays of the game, tosses out some of the penalties and the adjudication of penalties that makes a 1 hour contest into 4 hours, whatever. Go watch at least that. And Avery Johnson made a ton of plays, but making plays, the timely plays, the third down conversions, the plays that matter, that is going to separate teams from winning and losing games when they're evenly matched. And there's going to be a lot of games in the Big 12 Conference where the teams are evenly matched. Anyway, that was a great game this weekend. We'll spend some time on it throughout the show today. Kyle Whittingham just addressed the press for the first time in his 2025 campaign. I'm actually somewhat surprised by the overall tone and tenor of that thing being like a lot of big picture stuff. You got a football season kicking off this week. And there were a lot of kind of like broad strokes questions and answers there. I would like to get, maybe we'll have a chance on Coordinator's Corner this week. We get a little bit more nitty-gritty about what UCLA actually brings. Obviously, he did answer about Nico Iamaleava especially, and the defensive lineman he was referencing, number 58. I love coaches, just they get so lost in film they only talk about numbers.
Talk about the numbers, yeah.
6'2", 340, redshirt senior, Duke transfer, Gary Smith III is the guy that stood out on UCLA's film for Kyle Whittingham. Gary Smith III is going to have to overcome some combination of Michael Mokafisi, Jaron Kump, and Tanoa Tongiai, like as an interior defensive lineman, a guy who plays the shade or the three technique most often. That's going to be a tough day for him. All right, lots to get to today, and we'll start by diving in again on the UCLA side of things. Josh Lewin, voice of the UCLA Bruins, joins us next to talk about the UCLA outlook on this contest Saturday night, season opener against the Utes. It's the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. I got so excited that we're back and it's game week that I forgot to tell you that the show today and every day, and you already know this, but I should remind you, it's brought to you by our friends at Big Willie's, 1717 South Main. It is Utah's sports bar, craft food menu, craft cocktails, cold beers on draft. The pool tables just recently refelted. They've always got sticks that ring true, right? They're straight. When you go to these cheap dive bars, you got to find the one good pool cue if you want to shoot some pool. Give yourself a serious advantage. You got to dig like the bottom corner of a trash can to find the chalk. Not the case at Big Willie's. They take their pool seriously. They take their food seriously. They take their television contracts seriously, so you can catch every game all college football season long. In fact, I'm giving my official recommendation for everyone. Let's make it a watch party for Utah versus UCLA. Anyone who's not heading down to the Rose Bowl, 1717 South Main, they'll have food specials, drink specials for the Utes season opener, which of course is a 9 o'clock Mountain Time kickoff. Perfect time to head out to a sports bar. Find a babysitter, put the kids to bed. The babysitter just has to sit there and watch the game. Kids should be in bed. It's 9. Anyway, Josh Lewin, voice of the Bruins, is going to join us here momentarily. He was just hopping off a plane, so we got to give him some time to, grab the bags, start walking through the airport, whatever. This, by the way, part of our 31 Days of Football brought to you by Baskin-Robbins. You know how we were saying like a couple weeks ago, we were on kind of the lime sorbet. Yeah, it's good, but it's not something you're going to order every day. Now we're in game week. Now your Baskin-Robbins flavors of football conversation here on your home of the Utes, the Big 12, the NFL, everything. Now we're getting into the stuff now it's cookies and cream. It's the little Oreo chunks, okay? It's chocolate. It's Rocky Road. Now we're getting into the flavors that you really look forward to. The text line is always open at 877-353-0700. Give me your favorite memory of Utah's opening day. 54-11, 2004. Utah 41, Texas A&M 21, the first in a campaign that would prove to be undefeated, BCS busting Utah football under Urban Meyer. That was a special, special game because you knew coming off of the season before and the win over Southern Miss in the bowl game, Liberty Bowl, a 10-2 campaign, you're like, all right, this Utah team is going to be good. But I don't know if even the most optimistic projections had Utah going undefeated, finishing the season ranked number 4, and honestly, I think underranked at number 4. Should have been number 3. Probably could have made a case for number 2. Alex Smith deserved to win a Heisman Trophy. He was a finalist that year, and that Texas A&M game is the one that kicked it off. Whew. That was my first game on the Utah sideline as a member of the team. What a wonderful day that was. Woo, baby!
You still had so much hope that I'm going to be a key figure on this team.
Hey, let me tell you something. That was one of those like, hey, man, 41-20. I mean, like, they might start putting us in.
Walk-ons could get in here.
I'm dressed. Hey, why not have us run out there on kickoff? You know what I mean? You start getting these, like, delusions of grandeur. And we're in a comfortable lead here. A&M at the time was a Big 10 or Big 12 team, excuse me. Like, that's
right.
I get into play
that seems so long ago. A&M in the Big 12.
This is a major college football program. I've been watching these guys. 12th man. I'm the 12th man around here. Actually, you know what's funny is that was Utah had Urban Meyer was trying to rip off the 12th man campaign. Do you remember this?
I don't remember this.
So I'm sure longtime Utah fans will. They tried to do a thing called the Utah man.
Oh.
A&M has a 12th man. They tried to do a thing called the Utah
crowd
man,
is the Utah man,
where they sourced like a walk-on just from the student body. They just announced publicly in the Utah Chronicle. They said, hey, come try out and be the Utah man. And all they
kind of cool.
I went to the tryouts. I was trying to walk on the team. I was there. And it was big. There was like 100 dudes that showed up, and there was like 3 girls that tried to be the Utah man.
All right.
And yeah, it was I remember distinctly, James. It was Urban was trying to like ignite the fire of college football tradition and passion in the state of Utah, and he was, with no shame at all, stealing the 12th man tradition from Texas A&M. Now, I don't know if he thought about the fact that was going to be your first opponent of the year.
Yeah,
but
he probably did.
They ended up adding a guy named Billy Kinsey, all right, who was a walk-on the team. Billy was a great player. Shout out Billy from, I think, Morgan High School. Diamond Unatoa, shout out to you, Diamond Unatoa, showed up at those tryouts, and he was completely undersized but blazing fast. And then not the John Beck everyone else is thinking of, but a different John Beck. And he was just like, all right, these 3 guys, we're going to put them on the team, and we're going to decide if they're the Utah man or not. And then I think what actually happened was when they rolled it out, they said that another guy, former teammates, correct me if I'm wrong, 877-353-0700. I think that what they did at the end of the day is they had a kid named Dmitry Preobrazynski, Dima, I think ended up being the official Utah man for the year, if I'm not mistaken, who's already a walk-on the team, former Olympus High Titan, if I'm not mistaken.
Am I missing something? Did I miss this with Texas A&M? I thought the 12th man was their crowd. They actually have a 12th man walk-on?
You young buck.
I know. I missed this. I'm ashamed of myself because I'm usually on top of these things.
The 12th man is the crowd at Kyle Field.
Yeah.
Okay? But they would have every year at Texas A&M, they would have a 12th man game. And remember, it's a military school.
Yeah.
Right? So they would bring a cadet and put him in a uniform and have him run down on kickoff.
Oh, okay.
A member of the student body who was not a regular member of the football team got to be the 12th man in actual competition. This is like one of the great traditions of college football.
And it's still going? Or
I don't think it is, actually.
Okay, that's probably why I don't know about it.
I think they kind of quietly were just like, this is a liability nightmare.
Maybe the SEC was like, you can't be part of the SEC and have some guy up coming out of the stands playing for you.
You can't have Joe Schmo who's supposed to be in biology class.
That doesn't mean enough for us, okay?
It means more to us than that. Sorry. It just means I don't know if they do it or not. Again,
that's a cool old tradition.
It was the coolest thing I've ever seen. I remember distinctly watching, because A&M used to be on TV plenty, right? I remember watching the 12th man. I think
they TV plenty now.
Yeah. Maybe they only did it one game. It was like the 12th man game where this guy that was selected from the student body general got to be on the team, maybe just for one game, and legitimately ran down on kickoff. And it was one of those things where, like, when they do the the feel good moment on Sports Center, where like the team manager, the autistic kid who's like the equipment manager for the team, gets to shoot a bunch of 3-pointers in a basketball game. It was the equivalent of that, where everyone knew the 12th man, he would wear number 12 on the jersey, and he would run down on kickoff, and everyone's hoping that guy gets the tackle.
Yeah. That's a cool tradition.
That was a great tradition.
I don't blame them for having to go away, especially since they joined the SEC. They're probably like, whether it's the SEC saying it, like we joked, or the coaches, Jimbo Fisher, or whoever it was, saying, we can't really afford to have a rando playing any part of the game if we're gonna win big like we want to. So
here's what I'm gonna do. Okay,
go back to the crowd being the 12th man.
Josh Lewin is gonna be with us on the other side of this break. I'm gonna take time during this break and find out if the 12th man thing is still going. Forgive me, I didn't know we were gonna talk 12th man today. I wasn't planning that.
I mean, thank you to the texter for sharing their memory of the opener of the 04 season, the big win over Texas A&M. And
877.
Jogging your memory about the Utah man.
Yeah. 877-353-0700. Keep weighing in. Start, bench, cut is the Utah logos. Drum and feather, interlocking you, block you. start one, bench one, cut one, and then tell me your favorite memories of Utah football openers.
Real harsh to block someone if they get it differently than you do. Jeez. Oh, you block the block. Okay, my bad.
See, James, a lot of times the dad jokes hit. Not that time. -1 James Peterson bonus point for you.
Was that a Fritzy moment for me?
Hey, you lost one of your own bonus points, James.
Oh, man.
Sean O'Connell Show. Josh Lewin next. ESPN 700, 92.1 FM, proud part of Utah's ESPN radio network. Sean O'Connell Show on a Monday. It is game week for the University of Utah. We'll be focusing heavily on that, but we were going down memory lane talking about the great opening moments of Utah's football seasons in the past, and somebody brought in the 2004 Texas A&M win that got me going down a tangent about the Texas A&M, the 12th man, the Utah man tradition that Urban Meyer tried to fire up on the Hill, and this is the history lesson. 1922. At Texas A&M was playing in the postseason against Center College, which is hilarious because no one has ever heard of that before. And the Texas A&M team was short on players. Injuries decimated the roster. So a man named E. King Gill, former high school football player who was at Texas A&M playing basketball, was asked to come down from the stands and suit up to play. And he did, and that became the thing. The student body at Texas A&M stands the whole time to signify their willingness to come out on the field and play. The tradition of a student body member being brought out of the actual student body to play on the football team has now, like we said, evolved, or I would say devolved, into one of the players on the team that is it's given as an honorific. You're allowed to wear the number 12 jersey if the coaching staff feels like you represent the student body well. And it's typically an everyman type of player. It's not like Von Miller is not wearing number 12. You know what I mean? Dat Win ain't running out of that tunnel wearing number 12, all right? Anyway, Utah football season kicks off here this week. The hot lunch. We got Josh Lewin. I love talking to the voice of the UCLA Bruins. Josh Lewin joins us here on the Sean O'Connell Show. Josh, how are you?
Hey, Sean. Good to talk to you. Good to hear some Texas A&M lore.
Yeah, we went on a random tangent there, but we've also got a little history between Utah and this UCLA squad. Obviously, they shared a conference for several years, decade plus, in the Pac-12, had some fun games, some fun trips to the Rose Bowl for a couple of Rose Bowl games, and obviously for some contests against UCLA. And the new landscape of college football is such that the brands are familiar, but the faces in the in the actual uniforms, maybe not necessarily so. And that's certainly the case with both of these offenses. Both Utah and UCLA bring in new quarterbacks, new offensive coordinators. We'll start there with the Bruins. Nico and a new system and a new everything. How is it going so far in camp with, of course, the kickoff of the season on the horizon?
Yeah, I mean, he's been smooth. I haven't seen a lot of practices, to be honest with you, but, he's saying all the right things, doing all the right things. I've been practicing saying Iamaliava a lot. It's not the easiest name ever, but he's got a nice, easy motion, and he's 6'6". I mean, so he's certainly easy to spot. And, they don't have a lot of history in terms of guys that have done things in the receiving tour. That looks like a bit of a minus. But, somehow this guy at Tennessee last year had him top 10, and it looks like there's going to be a run game. And he mentioned the new offensive coordinator, who everybody's thrilled with. So I don't know if it's going to be the 45 points that the Bruins put up on Utah in 2016, but I think it's going to be more than the 3 or the 7 they tend to put up on Utah when they go out and play at Rice Eccles.
Well, one of the things with the new offensive system, and we've been talking about this a lot with the Utes, is if you've got a solid offensive line, it makes you feel a little bit better. What that group at UCLA has typically been, talented at the very least. What does this offensive line look like in front of Nico?
No Outland Award candidates on there. There's not a Chris Ferris from back in the day or a Jonathan Ogden, but they're bigger. I know that. They're bigger than a year ago, and it's guys that have actually played at other schools. So you never know what it's going to really look like until they actually take the field. But on paper, they look like they can block. Nico's got to figure out how to stay upright and do his thing. But can they block for the run game? It's my big question, because the Bruins last year, it was crazy. They had 2 touchdowns from running backs all year, and they were both basically 1-yard plunges. So, they bring in guys that are familiar to Utah, a couple of them, and maybe one of them will break through.
That's actually I didn't realize that was a stat. That's crazy to me because, I've come to associate UCLA with great linebacker play. They've had plenty of great running backs and productive running backs there. And for them to have such a deficiency in the run game in particular, that's a real shock, Josh.
Yeah, that was part of the undoing last year for sure. They just never really got cranked up with the run game, and defensively they actually, they stood tall enough. I mean, they had guys that have graduated onto the NFL. Carson Schlesinger was a zero-star prospect. He ends up being the number 33 pick in the NFL draft. So there were things that went okay defensively last year. They've got to score more than 18 points a game, though. They just do. And, I know Big Ten is different than Pac-12. The cynics would say you can get away with scoring 18 points a game in the Big Ten because, there's just this litany of 13-10 games that Wisconsin seems to always play. But at some point, you got to have a 3-touchdown game. And the Bruins haven't had one of those at the Rose Bowl in basically a year and a half. So I don't know if Utah's the defense they need to trot that out against to break that, but that's what they got.
Well, everyone here is wondering about how the Utah offense is going to look because of the same questions needing to be answered that UCLA's got to answer, right? New coordinator, new quarterback, all those things. And because of that, I'll ask you questions about this UCLA defense. In years past, there's been, this year, you just talked about Schlesinger. I don't care how many stars are next to your name. He was an incredible player. You go back and it was Miles Jack, it was Kendricks, it was Latu. They've had some unbelievable star elite level talents, and then the folks filling in around them usually keep up pretty well. Is there an emotional leader, a touch point, a guy that everyone that's watching this game in Salt Lake City should be keeping an eye on the UCLA defense?
You bring up a great point because that was Latu for a year or two, and it was easy to watch a Kendricks or, all those linebackers that came through around that time. I don't think there really is one this year. I mean, I'm sifting through names in my head. There's guys, I think there's a lot of B to B plus talent, which is great. There's no true A that jumps off the page, but that's what we said about Schlesinger last year, too. He didn't even start that first game at Hawaii, came off the bench. So I think that'll reveal itself as the season goes along. But no, there's no 5-star stud or anybody that's getting preseason rave reviews. It's going to have to kind of be by committee at least to get going.
Who's the best player on this team overall? If it's not Nico, is it Hudson Habermel, the tight end?
Well, he's got some NFL look to him. I mean, along the lines of it's not quite the tradition of tight ends that Utah's had or Stanford's had or Iowa's had, but there have been some decent ones lately at UCLA. I can see this guy in the NFL, but he's not a star, not yet. Again, sifting through possibilities of guys that could really capture your attention. I'm the play-by-play guy. I should be able to give you 10 of them, but it really is just kind of a prove it right now. I mean, there's not a lot of guys that come in here with huge stats. I mean, Habermill last year, if he was healthy, he had 10 catches. So it's not like I can say, well, he was a total stud. He was a monster. Then he hurt his ACL last year, but now he's coming back, and we know what he's going to be. He was a guy with 10 catches. So, the potential is there, but a lot's going to be revealed in September, that's for sure.
Josh Lewin, UCLA play-by-play voice, is our guest here on the Sean O'Connell Show ahead of Utah's season opener against UCLA. The bigger picture stuff, right? I mean, this is now a Big Ten team, and we spent some time talking about, as the Pac-12 was collapsing, like, well, what's this going to mean for UCLA football, for USC football, for Oregon, for Washington? And I'll ask you, because you're right there in the thick of it. The outlook is not strong for the Bruins in the Big Ten Conference this year. We've been surprised by Arizona State in the Big 12 last year and Indiana in the Big 10 last year. I mean, what level of upward mobility do you think? Like, what's the ceiling for UCLA in conference play when they get there?
Yeah, I mean, there's a shot to be that surprise team, and you mentioned two good ones in two different conferences from a year ago. It's Deshaun Foster's second year as the head coach. I think he's learned something. They coached Indiana's offensive coordinator, and I mean, there's some stuff to be excited about. I think the realistic look at what this team could be, I think it could be a 7 or 8 win team, and that would look like some positive trajectory. I think there's also a scenario where they could be a 4 or a 5 win team if there's a key injury or, all these new parts don't fit together the way they hope they do. The schedule's difficult. I mean, Utah to open at home is certainly not a cakewalk. In fact, the Utes are favored by a touchdown. So, they go at UNLV week 2, and that's not a done deal either. So you got your Penn States, you got your Ohio States. At least they don't get Oregon this year. But it's going to be a hassle to find a way to win.
Josh, tell me how you think this first game is going to play out. I mean, it's if we take the week 0 samples that we saw, it's never beautiful. It's never the best version of football that these teams are going to play, and with so much new happening at both Utah and UCLA, how do you see it playing out?
Yeah, ask me in week 5, Sean. I probably have a great answer for you. And like you say, because this is all brand new, I don't get a great sense. Practices have not been open to the media. I guess I could go if I really put my fist down, but it's like, all right, we'll just kind of roll out and see what's what on August 30th. And if there were 20 returning starters, I feel like I had a good handle on everything, but there's, out of 22 guys, there's 3 returning starters. So, the sense I get is literally anything can happen. And, to not have Cam Rising at quarterback is a whole new world for you guys. So lucky he was there for 20 years. And, you guys are building some new things too. So ask me at halftime, and I'll be able to give you a better answer. But this is one of those years, one of those games where it really is just a big shoulder shrug emoji going into week 1.
Well, I think that a lot of teams around the country feel that way. I'm glad that we get this one, a cool little night spot, a little echo of Pac-12 after dark. Have a great call, and, have a great season. Great to talk to you.
Thanks, brother. Yeah, well, always great to have Utah in town. That's for damn sure. We'll see you guys later.
That's Josh Lewin, UCLA play-by-play voice. And look, you heard a lot just in his voice, but also in the answers. There's a lot of questions about this UCLA team. There's a lot of questions about Utah. Obviously, we're very optimistic about those. If UCLA's upside is like 8 wins, it's a reflection of the conference they're in, obviously, but it's also a reflection of the deep level of uncertainty. They upgraded a quarterback. Nico, however you feel about his contract holdout and things like that, he's a talented player. He's a big guy with a big arm. So no obvious running back answer, no obvious defensive star. I mean, there was a time when UCLA could have like a 7-win season and still put 4 guys into the NFL. It's why so many of those UCLA coaches just got fired. It was like, dude, you have the talent and you're not turning it into wins. It's been one of those programs with, by the way, UCLA is in a nicer part of LA than USC is. The uniforms are cooler. The basketball program is better, which maybe I guess could work against football. There's no reason that UCLA should have the trouble that they've had, and now it's becoming more of a reason because funds are not unlimited. The commitment to football there, when they have to make decisions about basketball as well, is sometimes called into question. UCLA, like so many teams around the country, with the new era of college sports, with the transfer portal, with the NIL, UCLA has to figure out its identity, and it's got like a year and a half to figure it out. Not easy. And by the way, nobody's immune from it on most levels. Well, I guess Notre Dame, Ohio State, Alabama, they're immune from it. But there's like 110 teams in the country that are not immune from the issues that are plaguing UCLA. I say all that to remind you that Utah should win this football game on Saturday night. And we're going to look at it from a bunch of different angles, including through the eyes of our friend Scott Mitchell, who joins us to start hour number 2. That's next on the Sean O'Connell Show. It's Utah's number 1 sports talk, ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. You can find the Kyle Whittingham press conference on demand at ESPN700sports.com on the ESPN 700 app. Coach Witt addressed the media for almost to the exact second, 15 minutes ahead of their first game this season. That will be Saturday night against the UCLA Bruins. We just spoke with Josh Lewin, voice of the Bruins. Coach Witt was asked about the split between designed runs for Devin Dampier and effectively scrambles for Devin Dampier. And I'm actually surprised he gave the answer that he gave. I'm surprised Coach Witt gave an answer to that rather than just saying, we'll have to see, because you never want to tip your hand. He came down to balance. He came down to 50-50-ish. Look, I don't want to see Devin Dampier scrambling a lot, even though he's really good at it. If Devin Dampier is scrambling 50% of the time that he's running the ball in this Utah offense, it tells me a couple of things. It tells me that the offensive line isn't quite as good as we thought it was going to be if he has to scramble a lot. Or it tells me that the receiving core is not shaping up the way that we hoped it would, and guys aren't open, so he's running out of time. Because even behind a great offensive line, you're going to run out of time. And I just, even though it probably sounds counterproductive because he's so good at it, but I don't want to see Devin Dampier leaning on that part of his game, especially in this preseason, in these 3 first contests. Scott Mitchell, host of the Down and Dirty right here on ESPN 700, radio analyst on all of the Utah football broadcasts, and, of course, longtime NFL veteran after he was a Utah quarterbacking legend. He joins us on Mondays, and he's with us now. Hey, Scott, how are you?
I'm doing great, Sean. How's it going?
Doing all right. You probably just heard my preamble about Devin Dampier's running as a design run versus him as a scrambler. Kyle Whittingham kind of came down to a balanced answer, and you know they're gonna try to split it pretty evenly. First of all, tell me as the quarterback, right? As a guy who was obviously more known for his arm than his scrambling ability, what the right balance is versus what 50-50 actually looks like for Devin Dampier. What do you like to see from your quarterback?
Well, I think with Devin, it's like asking a duck never to land on water. I mean, it's just kind of who he is, I think asking him not to run is a bad thing. I think it's hard when you put percentages to everything. I think it's hard to say, you kind of have to feel the game. Sometimes it may require more. Sometimes it may be less. I think he's kind of trying to make a statement, Coach Whittingham, in that, I want some balance. I don't want you to just rely or to fall into too much of running the football. And a lot of it's going to depend on who develops for options to throw the ball to. I mean, if you're running the ball effectively, you can throw the ball all day long. If you have guys that can catch it, it's hard to stop everything as a defense, and it's really hard to stop an offense if they can run it, especially with a quarterback that can run it as well. And so, I'm more of a feel of the game, and of course, I don't want the quarterback to run more than possible, but if he's got to move around to make stuff happen, then I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. The 2 other guys that did it went to Pac-12 championship games, and one guy went to a couple of Rose Bowls. So, it's just the nature of how these quarterback positions are. They're asked to run the ball now, and you got to have one that can do it. And if they can, you got to ride that horse.
So we talked about this a little bit last week. Now you're in game prep, and last week you'd switched to game prep. It's extra credit. It's extra time.
Right.
This is game week. This is your actual routine. This is what your Monday Monday process should look like. This is what your Monday lift should look like. This is what your Monday film study should look like. How important was the routine for you as a quarterback getting ready in game week?
Routines were everything to me, and the sooner I could get into a routine, the better off I was. It gave you a confidence in your mind, like, okay, it's like your checklist. These are the things I got to do. It's Monday, I do this, and here's all the preparation, and you just built confidence in your mind that you were prepared. Made sure that you left nothing to chance, that you made sure everything was taken care of. And for me, it just helped to free my mind so I could go and play. But the other side of it is it gets hard to practice with no objective at the end of the week. And there's just something exciting about game week that all right, now we get to go play a game. Now we get to go to a different opponent. You get to travel, and you get to go to the hotel, and you get to go play in the Rose Bowl, and it's just exciting. It's fun. It's why you do it. And so that adds to the excitement, and it adds to your part of your, it means a little bit more in how you practice and how you prepare this week than in weeks past.
Every program, every coaching staff strives to be the best in that process, right? To have the exact correct balance of physicality in your weekly practices, so there's no shock when you hit the game speed, but also not to hurt anybody by over practicing, and not just week to week, but the accumulation once you get to, week 9, et cetera, et cetera. And this coaching staff is no different. There's been years past where the buzz and the scuttlebutt was that, hey, man, it's late in the season. Everybody starts breaking down because they practice too hard. And then they've kind of taken their foot off the gas pedal. And then it was, hey, they're not ready for game 1 because they didn't tackle during camp. And then, there's always this attempt to find the right balance. You did it in the college level. Obviously, you did it at the prep level before that. And then you did it for several different franchises at the NFL level. What is the correct balance, Scott, of, physicality in practice, even in game week, for starters, for backups, for quarterbacks, for wide receivers, et cetera? What is the right way to run a game week practice schedule?
Yeah, I think there's so much emphasis on, and it's more about the interior guys, and it's more about them. When the game starts, they kind of match that speed of the game. And I just think there has to be a level of, we have to do some physicality. I mean, I know Coach Whittingham has been really, his practices are tough. and I think it's bode well for the school, but I think there has been, maybe it's too much. Part of it is the mental grind on your body. You just kind of need a break at some point. The 49ers, back when they were great, they hardly ever practiced in pads. And so it's, so much of it is your team as much as it is as it is, what you do. If you have guys that can be prepared and get prepared and do it from limited practice, I think it's good. But the other side of it is, if you have depth in your program, then you don't wear guys down, and so that to me is a big thing. And it looks like Utah's going to have pretty good depth at those positions where it matters, like a defensive line. They've got 8, maybe possibly 10 offensive linemen. So it's, so the practice, you can still have physical practices because you're not going to wear guys out in a game. And it is different, Sean, because they don't have as many scholarship guys. You have the ones going against the ones more than maybe you did before. Coach Whittingham did a lot of thud with the ones this fall. And so he's kind of trying to pace himself through the fall camp with that in mind. And it is different than the other years. And it's a real thing, and it can really help you out. I believe Utah being healthy and learning how to manage that was a big reason why they won 2 Pac-12 championships. They didn't beat their guys up late in the year, and they were fresh, because that's really what you're aiming for, is how do you keep your team fresh by the time you get to November.
Scott Mitchell is our guest here on the Sean O'Connell Show for another few minutes. It's Monday of game week. It's UCLA on Saturday. It is the first time we will see Devin Dampier in a Utah football uniform, and the first time that Jason Beck will be calling plays when it actually matters. What do you expect when it comes to like first quarter performance from Devin Dampier? Is there going to be the jitters? Is the rollout going to take a little minute, or is this a guy, because it's the same system he's been playing in, even though it's a step up in competition, presumably, from what he saw most weeks last year in the Mountain West Conference? Is this something that happens quickly for him to get into form against UCLA?
I'm always so intrigued by what you just asked. Like, what is the first play? What's that first drive like? You look at when Utah played Florida a few years ago in Salt Lake, and the first play was a deep post, and Bryson Barnes hits this deep post, and it just set the whole tone for the game. Sometimes that can work against you, and sometimes having a methodical drive down the field to start the game is a good thing. So it's always fascinating to me, like, what do you call, what do you do to get your quarterback in a flow, in a rhythm? And it's like, I always like the candy store calls, where you have a lot of options, and I'm a guy that likes, like, I'd rather have my quarterback confident throwing early. And some coaches are like, let's run them a little bit, let them get hit, kind of thing. And so whatever it takes for Devin Dampier and really this offense to get in rhythm. I think Devin might be the guy who's the most comfortable, but it's some of these other guys that are fighting for a chance to be relevant. Some of these wide receivers, I think the running backs will be solid because it's just easier for guys, and I think there's a lot of experience at the running back position, but getting these wide receivers, getting a decent group of people, the tight ends, involved in the offense early and finding that rhythm, and it's hard. You can, because they talk about so many guys contributing offensively. So you got defensive players, Smith Snowden and Lander Barton, and so it's kind of hard to get in a rhythm and throw something at everyone, hodgepodge all over the place. It's a little easier to get in a rhythm and then kind of introduce those unique plays or unique situations as you go along. I just think that rhythm is so important for this team's psyche early on in the game and in the season, so they can build some confidence that they can use to really, create a good foundation moving forward for the team.
Nico Iamaleava, transferred from Tennessee, was one of the biggest recruits in his class, and now he's in that UCLA uniform. He's got a new offensive coordinator. He didn't bring him with him from Tennessee. What do you think his performance looks like? Because on paper, that's the guy you have to overcome. There's not a bunch of established stars on this UCLA team when it comes to production from the running back room, from the wide receivers. It's very similar to what you're looking at with Utah, where a lot of the production you're looking for from new guys if you're a Bruins fan. So Nico starts it all. How does Utah stop him? What's the biggest concern?
Yeah, it's a little bit like when Utah went to Florida, and Anthony Richardson's just uber talent, kind of new to a system, trying to figure things out, and just kind of found ways to make some plays. And that's what Nico Iamaleava is kind of that guy that can do that. And he's talented, and so he may not know everything, or he may not be completely comfortable with things, but you got to expect that he's going to try to do things, outside the framework of the offense, and try to extend plays and try to figure something out when he screws up, the play or whatever. But he's talented. I don't know what's around him. They got a really good wide receiver, and they got a pretty decent running back. They got a big offensive line. With any quarterback, and I think Morgan does this probably as good as anybody. You have to make them uncomfortable in those normal situations, and he's Morgan's really good at giving good looks. It's just so much about pressure. It's always about stopping the run, and that was such a huge emphasis for Utah. And part of it too is if this offense can be a little bit explosive and you kind of create a situation where a team becomes one-dimensional, I think that's when Utah plays its very best defense, when they know we've shut down the run, we know they have to throw the ball, and it just kind of changes everything. I think if you can create that kind of scenario with a quarterback, and you just want to make him uncomfortable, and you want to limit the big plays, make him earn everything he gets and challenge those wide receivers, and just know that from time to time he's good and he's going to make some plays and not let it kind of get you out of the bigger picture.
ESPN's top 100 list is out. Spencer Fano is named the 7th best player in all of college football by that list. And I know that these rankings don't mean a whole lot when it comes to actual game day. But we've been talking about him for 2 years now. The rest of the college football world has their eyes on not only him, but the rest of this Utah offensive line. Scott, I'm going back through my brain, and I'm trying to think of how many times has Utah football, if it plays out this way, how many times has Utah football actually had a top 10 individual player in all of college football? I think 1, 2, 3 at the most. I defer to you because you've been watching Utah football longer than I am. How many times has Utah football had a top 10 player, whatever position, and I don't mean like a top 10 corner. I mean a top 10 player in college football who happens to be a corner. How many times has it happened?
Yeah, I mean, top 10, Alex Smith was the number 1 pick. But I think coming out of college, I don't think there's been very, very many. I don't think there's been very many going into a season, where there's been so much pressure. Jordan Gross was a great player. Steve Smith Jr. was, but he wasn't at Utah. I mean, so there have been guys. Weddle was really good, but I don't know that he was a top 10. I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking of Luther Ellis back in the day, but I think Luther was, he was. I think he's like because he went to Detroit, he's picked somewhere around 20, 24 or something in the first round. So, it's a rare thing. And one of the things I think I'm most nervous about this season is everyone talks about how great this offensive line is. And I pray every day that they are. I don't want to be disappointed by it. And there's a lot of depth on it, but it almost feels like you're cursing them all before the season. But Spencer just has that NFL body type, and he just the way he moves, and he's been starting as a freshman, so there's a lot of tape on him, and he is legitimately a really good player, and I just love his attitude about all of it. He some guys you can tell they're like uptight about it, and it makes them nervous, and they feel a lot of pressure to live up to it, and he's like, man, where's the party, and can we just have a good time kind of attitude? And it just doesn't seem to really faze him that much. And so I hope that is, that's a sign of, okay, he's up to the challenge. And because I'll just tell you, if this offensive line turns out well, oh boy, this is going to be a real fun year for Utah, because they're very, very good, and they're very deep. So it should be interesting to see. I just hope that they're all good.
Yeah, well, count me in the group that hopes the same thing. It's going to be fascinating to see how it all plays out, and we only have a few more days to wait, Scott.
You know, it's hard, Sean, really quick. It's hard because you look at it so much, you know, at least for me, and I just go over it so much, and you really try to look at it pretty realistic. And really what it boils down to is if guys perform the way you expect them to perform, Utah will have a really good year this year. But if guys get injured or guys don't kind of play up to what you think they should, you know, then it's going to be a tough year, and we just don't know until we get into the season. But just kind of all those indicators, it feels like it's going to be a pretty solid year.
Well, I don't think I'll talk to you before the game, so have a great call, and we'll chat again next week.
I look forward to it, and we'll chat about a victory at the Rose Bowl.
That always sounds good. That's Scott Mitchell. Listen to him on the Down and Dirty. You can hear him next to Bill Riley and Stevenson Sylvester on the call right here on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM on Saturday night when Utah takes on UCLA in the season opener. All right, I want to pass on the question I just asked Scott to all of you. 877-353-0700 at Real OC Sports. Spencer Fano has been named in the preseason by ESPN, by other publications too, but the ESPN Top 100 list, the 7th best player in all of college football. Has Utah ever had a top 10 player, regardless of position? I think one. We'll talk about it. We'll discuss this. We're gonna converse our way through this question next on the Sean O'Connell Show. ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM, proud part of Utah's ESPN radio network. All right, we're leaning on you today on the Sean O'Connell Show. 877-353-0700. Tell me your favorite Utah football opening week memory. Text it to me. You can tweet it at me at RealOC Sports. Win, loss, game, play, whatever. First game of the season, your favorite memory of Utah football. We march ever closer to the season kicking off.
Oh, see, I feel like I'm a tough person to ask for season opening memories because, as everyone knows by now, I did not grow up a Utah football fan. So my season my season opening memories are from about 2018 season on.
Okay.
And that's been FCS teams. That was a loss at Florida. That was a good win against Florida, but still not quite as awesome as it would have been if you had a full strength. Like,
and if you had done it at the Swamp.
It's been some and like Cam Rising was the quarterback, as our texter earlier sent in a really cool opening play, Bryson Barnes and Money Parks in that game. But I would say, I mean, the season opener at the Swamp was cool because it was a really competitive game and the environment was awesome. Now, I wasn't there, but just seeing it, listening to it, but and going, Utah's here in this environment, right? But like, I feel like in my time, they haven't had a lot of cool things. Even the 2 Weber State wins in 18 and 19, rough starts to those games, and it's FCS. Like, that's not that cool.
One of those was Charlie Brewer. I mean, like, yeah. I mean, honestly, you can't go to the Pac-12 championship years because they didn't start well.
No.
So, yeah, the opening weekend memories, but maybe more importantly, and this one,
a lot cooler ones past then. Like, I've seen people mention the Michigan wins.
The Michigan one is I'm actually surprised at how much the Michigan wins were core memories for Utah football fans. I mean, going to the Big House is always a thing. So if you did, that would make sense.
Jim Harbaugh's the coach.
The Jim Harbaugh one, like the fact that it was all of the stuff around that made it so interesting because it was Jim Harbaugh's debut as the Michigan coach, and they were just pretending that it was a foregone conclusion. The broadcast was just like, "Yep, this is the Jim Harbaugh game at Michigan," and forgot that like Kyle Whittingham was going to have something to say about it, and not only was he going to have something to say about the game, but about the pregame marketing of parking that damn khaki wrap bus in the parking lot at Rice-Eccles Stadium, and he was just like, "No, take it somewhere else." When Kyle Whittingham writes his book eventually, I want a chapter on that specifically, on him just being cantankerous about certain things. And I don't know when it started. I genuinely don't know. But when Kyle Whittingham finally grew into and realized, like, I'm the head coach at the University of Utah and everyone respects me, I'm effectively the most powerful man in the Salt Lake area, him flexing that muscle to make them move a bus is the coolest thing. So,
yeah, let
me know your favorite memories. 877-353-0700. And the start bench cut today is the logos, because you're going to see a lot of interlocking U's on the Utah football helmet this year.
Yeah,
I think there's a push quietly or not so quietly behind the scenes to make that the primary logo for the university instead of the drum and feather, circle and feather.
They've been slowly moving on from the drum and feather,
which I hate. It's beautiful. I love it. I'm starting the drum and feather. I'm benching the interlocking U. I'm cutting the block U. Although I do have more affection for the block U than some, because that was the 04 year. It was all block U stuff.
Oh, was it really? Okay.
Interlocking U didn't even exist.
I thought
it had been buried in the archives. Interlocking U was not on. If you go back,
I thought it was more of drum and feather year 04. But.
Well, obviously, but like that's when they put the big block U in the middle of the stadium. A lot of the apparel it was just the aesthetic of the early 2000s, right? And I think it was at that time seen as like a cool new alternative logo, kind of like the interlocking U is now. The drum and feather's always been the primary and should stay, in my opinion, as the primary. But you could go back, if you go back to 04, and I'm pretty sure even that 08 season, you could not go to the bookstore and buy one thing. You could not find one thing that had interlocking U's on it, I bet.
Yeah, it's been the past few years that they've been going to the interlocking.
And I'll tell you, it grows on me. I like it, especially the throwback stuff. I really, really like it. It's never going to leapfrog the drum and feather for me. And a lot of people are saying, hey, no, it's circle and feather. The tribe says it's the circle of life, so it's the circle and feather.
Circle and feather. It is.
Colloquially, I'll call it the drum and feather while knowing it's the circle of life and feather, okay? But in any case, that's my favorite logo. So start one, bench one, cut one. I should have asked Scott. I can't believe I forgot to ask Scott. But anyway, I did ask Scott a question that I want you people to weigh in on. ESPN put out their list of the top 100 players in all of college football. And James Peterson loves this list because, of course, there's a lot of Ohio State Buckeyes on it. All right?
Love it every year, OC.
The number one player in the country, according to the list, is your guy,
Jeremiah Smith.
Jeremiah Smith.
All right.
Sophomore.
So far, no disagreements.
Rising sophomore. And look, you're going to have a hard time finding anyone who can really build a good case against that. But the reason that this list is intriguing to me is because Spencer Fano, a Utah offensive tackle, is number 7 on the list. 7. Has Utah football ever had a top 10 player regardless of position in college football? You can say Alex Smith because that Fiesta Bowl season, you can make a case that he should have won the Heisman Trophy. If Alex had been at Auburn, at USC, at Texas, at Alabama, at a place that was not a mid-major, he would have won the Heisman Trophy. He was that year's Ashton Genty. Nothing Ashton Genty did this year was going to make him the Heisman Trophy winner over a Cam Ward, over a Travis Hunter, because he's at Boise State, and that's always going to work against you because people are always going to say, but the competition that you did that against. Look, Alex could have done what he did against power competition. We know that now. He did in the games, in Texas A&M game. He did that in the Pitt game. He did that. Alex was that dude at the college level, at the NFL level. It took some time before he started being that big of a playmaker. Even as a 49ers fan who wanted him to excel, I will tell you that was more the 49ers problem than an Alex Smith problem. Everyone here knows that. Alex Smith was a top 10 player regardless of position in all of college football. Jordan Gross probably was too.
Yeah, and the other top 10 draft pick, it's just those two, right?
And that's not the only metric we should use because there's team need and things like that.
When there's guys who were,
you could say Luther Ellis,
not eligible for the draft too. Yeah,
most of us probably didn't watch enough Luther Ellis live and have so. I mean, Eric Weddle is one of the most instinctual, incredible, versatile players that we have ever seen in college football. You could probably build some kind of a case that he was a top 10 overall player in college football that year, but the NFL didn't think so. They had him at number 34-ish. And again, if you're a top 50 player in college football, if you're a top 100 player in college football, that's incredible. If Utah, for the first, second, third time, whatever you decide it is, has a top 10 player, regardless of position in college football this year, and even if he's down at number 15, even if he's down at number 20, I simultaneously don't want to buy too into the hype or fuel too much of the hype, but I also don't want to let it be lost on us as Utah observers, fans, that this could be one of the very, very, very few instances in which, regardless of position, you have one of the best football players in the country at your school. And there are people who think that he's not even the best at that position at the school. It's cool to see him getting this respect. It's daunting as hell. And also, people are going to get mad at me. I've been debating James to myself for a week. whether or not this is even a good thing to bring up on the eve of a game being kicked off for the University of Utah. But I decided I do want to bring it to the air because I think more than anything, it is a testament to the Fano family, to Spencer as an individual, to the Utah football culture, etc. He doesn't even have to play this year. If he's this highly thought of, I'm whispering it, kind of. If Spencer Fano, turn up your radio, is actually as good as all these preseason prognostications make him out to be, he would be a top 25 draft pick without even playing. The guy, his family,
Nick
the
Bosa
team,
situation almost.
The team means enough to him that, like, he's here. He's going to suit up. He's going to play. He's going to give it all. He's going to be bumps, bruises. He's going to ride with all of them. But has Utah ever had one of those?
Yeah, there's no way. Because Alex Smith, if we're saying he's the greatest of all time, as the one for sure guy who's a top 10 player in all of college football, that wasn't preseason.
Yeah,
that was after that was after they showed. I mean, a really good year in 2003, and then
if Alex Smith doesn't play the 2004 season, he's like a 4th round draft pick.
Yeah,
instead of the number 1 overall draft pick. Spencer Fano, and I'm not. Disclaimer, I'm not wishing this upon anything. Obviously, we're all thrilled he's going to play. Spencer Fano could make an executive decision for himself right now and just say, guys, I'll be a 1st-round draft pick without even suiting up. I can Nick Bosa this thing. I don't have to play, and I'll be a 1st-round draft pick. But the team, the goal, the culture,
he likes
his
playing
brother,
football, thankfully.
He's a football player. It means enough to him.
Yeah, thankfully that's the case. And hopefully he doesn't have a true Nick Bosa situation where he gets hurt in the middle.
No! Strike it from the record.
Dump that. My bad.
Bosa got, for people who forget, Bosa got hurt in like game 3.
Yeah, it was September of
it was just like
2018 season.
I'm going to have a surgery and I'm going to fix. And he was just like, and he could have been number 2.
Could have rehabbed and been back for a playoff run, which Ohio State did not make the playoff that year, so maybe he doesn't play anyway. But he could have been back and been ready for the playoffs, but he decided, nah, I'm going to be a top 5 pick, so I'm just going to rehab and make sure I'm ready for the NFL.
So, I'm not exaggerating. I'm not joking. I had that conversation with one of my friends, and I was like, I don't know if I should bring that to the air because it feels like bad juju, but after much debate, after much internal strife, I realized it's not at all, because what it is it's a testament to Spencer Fano that he's a smart guy and he knows, right? But he's a football player and he wants to play football.
Yeah.
And, like, I'm sure there's NIL attached to playing and things like that, but that's not what it is.
And he still wants to beat his brother in practice every day.
He's a dude. Like, football players want to play football. We make the mistake oftentimes of thinking like the money is the only thing that matters to these people, and it's not the case. Like, Travis Hunter is a great example. We talked about him a lot on this show, and we talked about him a lot last year. Like, Travis Hunter loves football to the level that he was just like, I'll play 100 snaps a game. I'll play 130 snaps a game. And everyone's just like, well, you're going to hurt yourself. You're putting too many miles on the clock. He's like, don't care. I love football. It's like telling a musician not to play music to tell some of these people don't play football.
You're about to get it. You're about to get a great job. You're going to be someone's drummer in a great band.
Hey,
why don't you just stop?
Take the year off of playing.
You might
guitar.
hurt your hand. You might get carpal tunnel.
You're gonna be the next guitarist for Van Halen. Just take the year off and don't play. And they're just gonna be like, no, I can't.
You might get a career-ending blister. Like, we don't need to risk that. It's ridiculous when you put it into other terms, like we just did, tongue-in-cheek in other contexts. But that's the way that some athletes think nowadays.
And the fact that Spencer Fano is not one of those athletes
is great.
Is a spectacular thing. It's not cool. It's amazing because he's not the only one. And by the way, Caden Proctor at Alabama, the next best tackle, or maybe he is the best tackle and Spencer's second best, or maybe Caleb Lomu's best and Spencer's third best, whatever.
Top 2 or 3, yeah.
All of these guys, if you're a top 5 NFL tackle this year, you don't have to play. You really don't. Walker Little at Stanford took 2 years off. 2. And he had injury history. And guess what? He was still a second-round draft pick and a day 1 starter. So these guys love football. And I am overjoyed to be able to tell you that, even though I thought about maybe not bringing it up.
You remember when Zion hurt his ankle and everyone was like, it was like game 19, it was January, and they're like, oh, you better just shut it down. You better shut it down. And he came back and played because he's like, and people were like, what are you doing? That's ridiculous. And he's like, well, I like playing basketball.
Remember when Leonard Fournette was told that, hey, you could sit out and not play? And then he's Leonard Fournette. He ended up having a solid career. But running back, anyway. So, no bad juju, all good.
Yeah, we're complimenting you, Spencer Fano, and Utah fans.
But here's the thing. I don't know. Preseason, you've never had a guy that the rest of the country looks at and says, that's a top 10 player, regardless of position in all of college football. And then in actual reality, you've maybe had as many as 4 or 5.
The other guy we talked about
if
off
I'm going
air
back,
was Star.
If I haven't gone, Starlo to Lele. And Star is a guy, honestly, like Star at his best, when Star gave a you-know-what, Star was a top 10 player in college football. Star could make All-American caliber competition. Go watch that opening sequence against UCLA when is it Ryan Khalil or Matt Khalil? Whoever the All-American Khalil is that's blocking him gets thrown around like he's a child. Like, if Star did that every down,
might have been a top 5 pick.
Then Star, he was number 14 overall pick, okay? And you could make a case for Star being a top 10 pick or a top 10 player in college football. He could have made himself undeniable. Star's physical capabilities, he could have been Aaron Donald, all right? But Alex Smith actually was. I think Jordan Gross probably was. Luther Ellis maybe was. There's no definitive yes. And Spencer, by the way, at the end of this year, there's no definitive yes yet, but that's how he's thought of right now. And we haven't had that. And just drink it in, Utah fans. Knocking on wood, doing all the superstitious things for everyone. Don't worry. By the way, the voice of the Utes, Bill Riley, listening and texting me to remind everyone that on the coaches show, the 2 player guests will be Spencer Fano and Logan Fano.
All right.
Maybe some conversation will gear this way.
Fano captains, let's go.
Yeah, both two team captains, dual captains at the University of Utah.
Tomorrow night at 6, by the way, first coaches show.
Before we take a break, I want to remind everyone, Utah football season, fall is coming. I actually was up in the mountains this weekend. The foliage is already starting to change, which made me a little bit sad. But that means cold weather will be here before you know it. That means the wind, the rain, the sleet, the ice. You need to get your house sealed up tight, energy efficient, and you probably need new windows to make that happen. Yes, it'll be an expense, but you're going to get $2,500 off 10 windows or more with our friends at Advanced Window Products. A lifetime guarantee on your windows. And it's not just on the installation of the window, it's on the product itself. There's never going to be a debate if suddenly there's moisture that appears between the panes of the windows. Well, whose fault is that? Was that the installer? Was that the manufacturer? Was that some faulty thing that who do I blame? Nope. Advanced Windows takes care of all of it. It makes your house look better. It adds value if you're looking for resale in the near future. There's no reason not to at least get a bid. Have them come out. If your windows are 10, 15, 20 years old, now's the time to call Nate Orchard, to call Jake Weber, 801-850-9100. Have Advanced Window Products come out and just take a look. Tell you how much it would cost. It's usually a 4 to 6 week process from the time you order those windows to they manufacture them and install them in your house. 6 weeks from now, you are in the fall. The leaves are down. The cold, brisk mornings are starting to make you wonder, oh, man, should I have gotten those replacement windows? The answer is yes. Give them a call today. Let them come out and walk you through the process. There's financing options. They can take care of the window coverings. One-stop shop, guaranteed for life by people and a company you can trust. AdvancedWindows.com, 801-850-9100, right here in the heart of Salt Lake City. Tell them OC sent you. We'll double break. Lots to talk about. How about Utah high school football on the national map? Let's go, baby. It's the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. The start bench cut today has been fascinating to look at. I started the show with a couple of questions in honor of the start of the Utah football season being this week. Start bench cut, your Utah football, and it's not just football, it's Utah Athletics logos. Drum and feather, circle and feather, whichever you prefer to call it. The interlocking U's, which has gained popularity as of late and feels like the official logo that the university itself is trying to adopt. And then the block U, which occupied a significant amount of space for about 20 years from the late 90s to really like COVID. So start one, bench one, cut one. I thought this was going to be a pretty predictable one. Like we've had some that are all over the place, some that are difficult. I thought this one was easy. Start the drum and feather, bench the interlocking U, cut the swoop alternative logo or the block U.
Which was your
That's my list. I thought that
order.
was easy.
That's my order. Yeah, I thought it'd be pretty cut and dry.
There's probably about, it seems like, I'd have to compile, it seems like 20% or so that would rather start the interlocking U. Oh. And this is wild. I didn't think there was anyone who was anti-interlocking U, but we've got now a couple people who want to cut the interlocking U.
Huh.
No one has cut the drum and feather yet, rightfully so. But there are a couple people who have decided they want to cut the interlocking U's. Andrew T. Larson on Twitter, who's a regular interactor.
Shout out to Andrew, longtime listener.
Will not buy any interlocking U stuff. I'd love to know the reasoning.
Yeah.
I'd love to know the impetus for such hatred. It's not my favorite, but it has grown on me significantly. The Rose Bowl helmet with the rose through the interlocking U's is about as cool as it gets.
So cool.
So, that helps. And anytime you can associate branding or a logo with a positive era of the team, which, of course, those championship years is kind of when the interlocking U was brought out of the darkness again.
I mean, hence the affinity for the mountain jerseys for the Jazz.
Uh-huh.
And I myself included, that's my favorite jersey for the Jazz.
Even they're just cool looking.
Yeah, even better than this re-upping of the mountain jerseys, which is pretty good that they're starting this year. My favorite year of the Jazz, but then there's some that are older fans than I am that are like, dumb.
I can't
It's the
wait.
Mardi Gras colors. Come on,
I
which
can't
also
wait
great
to do start bench cut for Jazz uniforms.
Yeah,
that one's gonna get.
Cut's
spirited.
gonna be highlighter yellow that we just got out of. Highlighter yellow.
I'm just gonna
Lowry
preemptively-
Markkanen's favorite jersey, by the way.
Dude, all respect to Lowry Markkanen's basketball abilities, but Scandinavian people's aesthetic is odd. Okay, it just is.
Shout out to Mickey Jontunen too.
Sure,
we love our Scandinavian Finnish basketball players with ties to the state.
All right, so we started the show with the Kyle Whittingham press conference, and the questions in the Kyle Whittingham press conference skewed a little bit big picture, more big picture than I thought they were going to, which was interesting.
Is that more than usual before a season opener? Because I'm with you. I was expecting.
I thought it was going to get real granular on UCLA.
Yeah, we had more than a month of asking them this every day or couple days a week during fall camp, and we're still talking about these things. Interesting.
Here and it's fine. However
More
the
we needed to
conversation
know,
goes is how the conversation goes.
Yeah.
Sure, whatever. Coach Witt did mention, the need for college football to change and adapt sooner than later. He called the current situation unsustainable, which is kind of the feeling for everyone outside of Big Ten and SEC powerhouses. Not even the whole SEC and the whole Big Ten. There are plenty of sweaty palms at Maryland and Rutgers right now who are like, I don't know that, like, even though they're giving us money to keep up, I don't know that they're going to keep giving us money to keep up. Like, there's no definitive reason for Penn State and Ohio State to look down at Illinois and Rutgers and just be like, yeah, we're going to keep sharing $100 million a year with you guys.
Or Alabama and Georgia to do the same for Vandy.
Yeah.
Like, there's some vulnerable schools, vulnerable teams in those conferences.
Mississippi State and Vanderbilt and some of these teams are just like, but we've been part of the club for a long time now.
Missouri, even though they've been good the last couple of years, I think they qualify in the SEC.
And when it comes down to it, like being part of the club is not enough.
Contribute, man.
Ask the Pac-12 conference as a whole. You were part of the club. You were the power brokers
Power
for
5
a long time. You were highly respected. Oh my gosh, we couldn't do this without the USCs and the Washingtons, and Oregon became one of those, right?
And what a great story Utah's become. That was the conversation. Now it's gone.
Now people are just like, your whole existence is a punchline, which is tragic. I'll never get over it, ever. I never will get over the death of the Pac-12 conference. But the big picture conversation with Kyle Whittingham and him touching on, hey, it's got to change. I can't help but notice that when he says, my suggestion, here's what it is, his hands are washed of all that because he ain't going to be around.
Yeah.
And people asked him, are you glad you came back? He's like, yeah, I'm glad I came. I still enjoy it. You know what I mean? He's talking about a future that he is not going to be bothered by. And that's a good place to be when you're going into a season with a talented team and you're coaching it and knowing everyone's getting real hey, what about keeping – he's like, yeah, the finances matter for somebody else. Hey.
It's going to matter a lot for Morgan Scalley.
The realignment thing and being a little NFL light and, hey, maybe some preseason games that don't count on your actual record, I think that's a good idea. He can throw any idea at the wall that he wants to right now because it ain't going to affect him. I am more convinced than I've ever been that this is the last ride for Kyle Whittingham, and I'm totally fine with it. I think it's going to be a great season for Utah, and I don't want to see him go out on anything but. And nobody does. And he kind of admitted to us whenever he joined us in the summer that he won't. That's why he's back. Couldn't walk away on that note. He's said it several times now. So that was something that I took away from his conversation with the media this morning. Just yeah, man, I guess this is what you could do. It's kind of like your exit interview with the company that, they're just like, well, how do we improve our performance? It's like, you could try to pay your employees more, I guess. I don't care now because I'm gone. It's a fascinating setup for the season. And I've had this conversation in many contexts when it comes to looming retirement for athletes in particular. There's a concern when somebody's eyeing the end, right? A talking head or a former coach or somebody will say, if you're even thinking about it, it's time to be done. And I've pushed back on that because, especially in the fight sports, it's talked about a lot. If you're a boxer, if you're an MMA fighter, and you're someone who's even thinking about being done, you're already done. You have to be all the way bought in, fully committed, ready to die. And if you're not, you're going to get yourself in a bad situation because you're going to be competing against people who are that committed. And I push back on that because I was in that situation. And when you know that you've got a finite amount of opportunities left to do this thing, you're going to do the best job that you can. All right.
Yeah, the urgency goes up, doesn't it?
And I don't know why that's hard for people to understand, or I don't know if that's even hard for people to understand. I just think they're not convinced that is enough motivation. And
it gets discounted.
And by the way, I don't think motivation is a thing for Kyle Whittingham. I think that he's Alexander Usyk. It's now my favorite quote. I am not motivated. I am disciplined. I don't think Kyle Whittingham has to be a motivated guy. I think Kyle Whittingham shows up and does what he's supposed to do.
He's always up for whatever.
Every day of his life. We talk about it all the time. He's on 2,000 days without skipping a workout now, right? He's just a creature of habit. I think that the looming retirement probably scares the you-know-what out of him. But guess what? He's disciplined now, so I'm not worried about him, like, coasting his way through his final season. I'm not worried about him. If anything, it guarantees you're going to get the best version because there's a recognition somewhere, even if he hasn't admitted it to himself yet that this is it, that, well, I know it's not going to be forever, so I'm going to savor these moments while they're here, right? I don't know when that happens for you. If you're an athlete out there right now, I know as a parent we all have to be better at this, but like it didn't happen for me until I had transferred to Weber State, and I realized like there's absolutely no shot that I'm doing anything football-wise beyond this. So I got to put all of my it's somebody else's fault I wasn't good at Utah. It's like all that stuff doesn't matter. And I got to, like, enjoy this now. I got to take advantage of this now. I got to do the best job I can now. And then, obviously, the better example for me was in the fight world when I was, like, I entered a tournament effectively, and I was like, I'm going to either win this thing and be done or I'm going to lose this thing and be done. So I better win it.
Yeah.
Because people are not going to remember me at all if I don't win it. And so it motivates you. It lights that fire. It pushes. And we have asked Kyle Whittingham now as a collective Utah media probably 1,000 times or more about when is it going to be over? Is this the end? How does it feel? He was asked today, not like, is this your last season? Are you glad you came back? Is not a question you ask someone who's 36 years old and has, a long tail ahead of them.
Yeah.
It's about,
that's someone you think this might be their last year.
Are you glad you came back? And he's like, yeah, I'm glad I came back. And that is a very fascinating backdrop for this football season that we're about to kick off on Saturday night.
It absolutely is.
A legend. The identity, the heartbeat of the program. The guy who has built this thing over 2 decades plus in his very image is at some point soon, I think at the end of this year, it maybe is the end of next year. I guess it could be the year after that. But at some point in the foreseeable future, with the players on the roster now, some players on this roster and assistant coaches in this building now are going to say goodbye to this guy, are going to be the ones that send him off into the sunset that hopefully involves, just a changing role and him. He's going to have an office however long he wants. And I imagine he'll be on that damn stair climber in the Alex Smith Performance Center for the next 50 years. But it's a really interesting backdrop because of this confluence of factors. The old dog, who has the reputation for not liking to learn new tricks, brought in an offensive coordinator that is going to do things very differently than he has done them, or Utah has done them for the last several years. You're playing a game that you have openly admitted you don't like to play with transfers and pay to play and NIL, and he talked about that in the press conference today. Transfer guys are more expensive. Guys that you retain are usually you get them at a bargain because they know what you like. Like, that is wild for someone who is as old school as it comes to be playing this game. And all of that is in the stew for the 2025 season, where you've got a schedule that some people have rated as like, the third hardest in the Big 12 Conference, as, at least upper half tough schedules in college football. But you have a lot of these tough games at home. Your non-conference schedule is kind of a mixed bag of, it's UCLA, but they seem like they're down. It's Cal Poly, who you're absolutely going to beat. It's Wyoming. That's never a fun and easy road trip. Doesn't matter. It's just not. So, and then your conference slate, you get right to action with Texas Tech, who's supposed to be the best team in the conference, talent-wise. All of that is happening, folks, starting this week. the soap opera, the drama, the collective narratives, the stories, the questions, the what-ifs, the is Spencer Fano actually as good as we think he is? Is Caleb Lomu right there with him? Is Devin Dampier going to be throwing 24 touchdowns and 5 interceptions this year instead of 12 and 12? Or is he a 12 and 12 guy? And if he is, can you win? All of this starts days from now. Not months, not weeks, days from now. This is the stuff of life as a sports fan, James.
Yeah, and, every time we start the 100-day countdown, end of May, it feels so far away. But then every 10 days, you're like, oh, my gosh, it's only 90 days away. Oh, it's only 80 days away. It's only 10 days. It's 5 days away. You kind of can't believe it every year that we're finally here, and then you're also like, but that off season went by fast. This year, as you just pointed out, laid out there for everyone, more intriguing storylines than we've probably had in a very long time. And I'll say that more than last year, even though last year the storylines were getting everyone excited because you had people thought the best roster in the Big 12 coming in. Like, the intrigue comes from the uncertainty, though. And this year's uncertainty, the uncertainty level is so much higher than it's been, since pre-Pac-12 championship years, probably. And in a good way, though, because you're uncertain about how good Devin Dampier can be, not that he's good at all, right? You're uncertain about, is Jason Beck the right coordinator? Like, is his offense going, how good could his offense be? Not, is he a good offensive coordinator, and could that style work at the University of Utah? I mean, there's some of that question, but a lot of it is like, no, what's the ceiling? Which is kind of fun intrigue for University of Utah. And the backdrop of this might be Kyle Whittingham's final year makes it all that more intriguing.
The other, I think, less talked about thing here, for me at least, is Morgan Scalley at some point is going to be taking over this program. But right now, what Morgan Scalley is one of the best defensive coordinators in all of college football. We don't know if next year he's the head coach. We don't know if it's 2 or 3 or 5 years from now, and we don't know if he has to wait 2 or 3 or 5 years from now, whether or not he stays where he's at or whether he gets another opportunity. But we do know right now, Morgan Scalley, University of Utah, is one of the best defensive coordinators in all of college football. It's been demonstrated. It's been determined. He's put the right tweaks to make this his own defense. It's a system that is tried, true, reliable, etc. This is going to be one of his toughest years as a coach. Morgan Scalley is another storyline here that you have to pay attention to, because find me the obvious, oh, I'm not worried about this guy's performance at all on the Utah defense. There's no one. As much as I have gassed up and we have gushed about Smith Snowden and we have gushed about Teo Johnson, and probably especially on this program, Lander Barton, there's not an Eric Weddle. There's not a Morgan Scalley on this defense.
Devin Lloyd.
There's no Devin Lloyd here. There's no Jalen Johnson here. There's no Star Lotulelei, who is far from perfect as a player. There's not a Nate Orchard here that you can identify today. Now, Lander Barton could be better than all those guys, and honestly probably has the physical capabilities to be a Devin Lloyd. But you knew Devin Lloyd was Devin Lloyd when he was coming into his final year in the program. You knew it. You were like, I know Devin Lloyd's going to be the best player on this defense. I know that whatever else happens, Devin Lloyd is going to make a lot of things right. I think that is true about Lander. I think that is true also about Levani Damuni. I think it's true about Teo Johnson. I think it's true about Smith Snowden. I'm high on Rabbit Evans. I like him, right? Logan Fano's ceiling appears to be astronomically high. He has not even approached it as an actual player yet. Like, when you had Bradley and I and Hunter Dimmick, you were just like, well, even if one of them goes down, we're cool. And guess what? They didn't go down because they're built like brick you-know-what houses. Like, this is a year where Morgan Scalley has a defensive coordinator at the University of Utah going back to when Kyle Whittingham held that role, ever had a situation where we even blink at the idea that the interior defensive line is not going to be really good. We think, we hope, but again, this is going to be more of a prove-it year for Morgan Scalley than we have bothered to talk about yet, because there's the Kyle Whittingham conversation. There is the overarching new offensive coordinator, Devin Dampier situation. It is a talented roster. It is far from an established and proven defensive roster for Morgan Scalley. And we take for granted that they're going to be really good. Not just good. We're like, yeah, they'll give up 19 points. They'll give up 16 points a game.
Which is like hard to do, by the way.
We think.
But they do it.
Yeah, it's really hard to do. And we're just like, here's the thing, man. You could ask these same questions last year, and those guys got hurt. Like, you knew Junior Tafuna going into last year was a really good player. Junior Tafuna played effectively in 9 games. You knew Keanu Tanuvasa because it was the year before that he had established himself. It's like, oh, wow, look, this guy's good.
Rene Reed.
Like, you knew those guys. That guy's, he's a good player. He gave you 7 games, right? And Morgan Scalley's defense still performed against the backdrop of a terrible offense. I saw somebody, my algorithm is so messed up. I get these clips from every Big 12 team's like random-ass 100-follower podcasters.
Yeah.
And I got another one from BYU last year that just popped up. It was a video of some Yahoo. I'd love to have you on the show, by the way, Yahoo. That he was like, you know what? You know who got killed by the Michigan scandal? Utah, because Utah was stealing signs. Did you see this?
I missed this.
He was like, the Big 12 team that was stealing signs was Utah. And Utah's defense, since the sign stealing thing got taken care of, since it was direct communication into the helmet, Utah's defense has really fallen off. Okay. And it was like, what? What do you mean? Where's the point where Utah's defense has fallen off? So,
is the basis of this accusation that Morgan Scalley waits longer than some to get the play in? Like, look, where's the basis of this?
Look, the basis of did Utah do a better job than most teams about queuing on other team signals? I believe 100% yes.
Yeah.
I believe 200% yes. Kyle Whittingham, he said, if your signs get stolen, it's your fault your signs get stolen. I don't it's gamesmanship.
Yeah, we're talking about looking across the field.
We're not talking about Connor Stallion's Spygate.
Because I'm like, where is this accusation coming from?
But the point is, if the accusation is like, oh, look, as soon as they took that away, Utah hasn't been good. What were you watching? They played with one of the worst offenses in the country opposite them last year.
They were competitive in every game.
They were second in the conference defensively in points allowed. So the fact of the matter is, Morgan Scalley, what we know about Morgan Scalley today is not how long he has to wait to become the head coach, not how many star players he has, because we don't know. We truly don't. We think we do, but we don't actually know. But we know he is a great defensive coordinator. He might have to have his greatest year. Yeah. It's kind of like when you go back to 2 years ago, and we were all sitting here like, hey, this might be the toughest coaching job Kyle Whittingham's done, because Cam Rising is out. He's injured. He's gone. You're trying to win these games with Bryson Barnes, and you did it. You won. You won 8 games, right? We were talking about that year. It's just like, this is probably one of the better coaching performances that staff has put together. There's a chance that you have to get that from Morgan Scalley on the defensive side. Now, I am of the personal belief that Carson Kaufusi and Jonah Lea'ea and Dallas Vakalahi and those guys, Pupu Cepolona. I think those guys are going to be good. I think that those guys are going to be names that we start learning, being more familiar with, and getting their tendencies and realizing, oh, look at this guy. Look how he smashes double teams. But
going to make offenses look poo-poo.
Because we don't know yet, all I can do is say, well, what do I trust? What do I know? I don't know the talent of the players. I don't know the production of the players. What do I know? Well, I know that Morgan Scalley's the dude.
Yeah, Sharif Shah, the dude.
I know that these guys, Colton Swan's an unbelievable linebackers coach. So if he gets a healthy Lander Barton, it's going to be a really good healthy Lander Barton. If he gets a healthy Levani Damouni and a healthy Jonnu, yes. But that's a storyline that we have barely taken 5 minutes to flesh out all summer long because it's just assumed. Oh, it's Morgan Scalley, the defense. Kyle Whittingham kind of overseeing it all from on high. Everything's going to be fine. Okay. I believe it. Do I have good reason to believe it? I hope so.
You do from the coaching staff perspective. You have good reason to believe, trust in Morgan Scalley and his staff and his defensive staff, and as you mentioned, Kyle Whittingham being a defensive-minded guy and asserting his influence on that too. But to your point, when you go to players, when you look down the roster, there's not many, if any, that you can say, yeah, I have good reason to believe that guy's going to be a defensive superstar like we've seen throughout Kyle Whittingham's tenure. And going back to when he was defensive coordinator, like you said. So that's another intriguing storyline with this season. Can't wait for it to get started, man. UCLA, and to start it at the Rose Bowl, I know like there's so many people, it's not the Rose Bowl, but the venue's still still the Rose Bowl. It's a great place to start the college football season. 5 days from now,
we have a couple more texts coming in that the interlocking U is being cut.
Wow!
In the start bench cut. This coming in from 9708. I will never buy or wear interlocking U. I make a point of it. See, I hate it out of spite as we're losing the drum and feather. Here's the thing.
Okay, so it's like a because of you, we don't have our favorite. We may not have our favorite.
That to me feels like you won't go to a Cleveland Guardians game because you wanted them to be called the Indians forever.
Yeah.
Are you a fan? Because like
sour grapes.
The Guardians thing, it's not my favorite. But are you just going to wear Chief Wahoo for the rest of your life?
And
I guess probably so. That's probably what those Cleveland fans are doing.
And relish in the 90s Cleveland baseball team, Cleveland Indians team that were really good. Maybe that 2016 World Series team that choked against the Cubs, the 3-1 lead.
I'll say this, 9708. I also hate the idea that they're trying to phase out the drum and feather, and I will stand with you. I will die on the hill with you. You and I can stand back to back as the political correctness mongers come and try to rip the drum and feather, the circle and feather from our cold dead hands. But
you like the interlocking U.
I'm not going to hate the interlocking U because of it. It's not the fault of it. The interlocking U is not the reason for the drum and feather going away.
And it looks good.
It's a good look. And it's distinct. And,
although it does look like the UH of Houston a little bit, even though it is
not enough that it bothers me.
I mean, not to bother.
Also,
you said distinct. It's a little close to that. Yeah.
Also, you're higher on the ladder football-wise than Houston.
Oh, yeah. You're not – no one's thinking of Houston when they see –
Speaking of UH, did you see Hawaii beat Stanford this weekend?
I did.
Stanford, what are you doing?
What's going on?
Stanford. How
ACC.
the mighty have fallen.
If traditional ACC power falling to Hawaii like that? Jeez.
By the way, how dumb is it that it's an ACC team? ACC team making the long trip to Hawaii. Oh, it's actually closer than most people think.
Yeah, it's like a few hours plane ride. But okay.
Congrats to Hawaii and their kicker. They're from actual Japan kicker. The international. I don't give enough credit, I guess, to the international efforts for football because I'm just like, guys, what are we doing? American football is never going to be big internationally. Hawaii got a kicker out of it at least.
Yeah.
Anyway, got to take a break. Keep texting me your start bench cut on the Utah logos and your favorite memories from opening week of Utah football. We're approaching the season kickoff against UCLA. I want to know your most distinct, enjoyable, fun, whatever memory from the first game of the season. Doesn't matter what season it was. And a reminder to all of you that the Utah State Fair is coming September 4th through the 14th. We've got info at ESPN700sports.com. And very shortly, in like 20 minutes, we're going to be giving away a family 4-pack of tickets. That'll be an hour from now. No, that'll be 20 minutes from now. They got a bunch of stuff. Giant Yellow Slide, the best corn dogs in the world, butter sculptures, arts and crafts, chickens, cows, pigs, horses, demolition derby, rodeo, of course, legendary rock band coming, world-famous comedian, ESPN700sports.com, the Utah State Fair Family 4-pack given away today. Check out ESPN700sports.com for more details on how to get yourself tickets, even if you don't win. Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. I have tried, by the way, as Billy Joel's dulcet tones bring us in, I've tried to watch the Billy Joel docu-series, it's like a two-parter.
Yeah.
It's called And So It Goes.
What's that on again? Is it
I think it's
HBO?
on HBO.
Okay.
I've tried to watch it 3 times now. Fall asleep as soon as he starts singing. Gone. I made it 20 minutes in 3 different attempts.
This is weeknights, I'm assuming you've tried to do it?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you're already just dog tired from talking so much into a microphone.
Yep. It's just you people don't know what it's like having to do this job.
Chasing around 3 little girls.
No, just like it's like you got your routine, you got work, you got whatever the duties are with the kids. Back on the gonna pat myself on the back on the workout train, prepare the show for the next day.
I was gonna ask you look like you've been working out again.
Thanks, James.
I was not.
I'm a prepare the night before guy rather than the day of for the most part.
Yeah.
Like do 80% of the show prep the night before and then fill out the details the next morning.
Good way to do it.
And then you get done with all that stuff. It's like 10:30. Like, okay, Billy Joel, what do you have for me? Sing us a song. It's terrible. Anyway.
I get that way too whenever I try to watch something past like 9 o'clock. It's like, okay, apparently I was more tired than I realized.
Yeah, sorry. Especially now that you have an infant.
Yeah.
You're done for, bud. Shout out to Corner Canyon.
Yeah.
Corner Canyon High School, 38-13 victory over West Broward, Florida. I
destroyed them.
I shouldn't love this as much as I do, but one of my favorite things is when Texas, California, Florida, Georgia. It used to be the Hawaii teams that would come to Utah, and they have these big reputations, and it's like, Utah's nothing. Football in Utah's nothing.
I don't even have stoplights, probably. How are you supposed to hit me?
And this team you've all seen, hopefully you've seen the social media videos, like the coaching staff was letting them chirp and bark and getting everyone's faces, and Coach Kerr at Corner Canyon did not seem to be overly bothered that his kids were going to be, participating in that as well. And there's a lot of jawing back and forth and things getting, football physical. Like it's where guys, like, they get in each other's faces and they bump chests and all that kind of stuff. No one's actually going to fight. You got your equipment, you got your helmets on.
As opposed to, OC weigh-in physical where you're doing rock, paper, scissors.
It's like a little brouhaha, kind of like, it's just they get worked up and everyone's talking and everyone's confident. And then Corner Canyon, Helam and Kasuga, shout out, went and smashed this team from Broward County in South Florida. Like, this is the hotbed, one of the hotbeds of high school football in America. And there's this assumption that a suburban team from Utah, what would hurt their feelings even worse, James? Is if after Corner Canyon beat the snot out of this team, they had to go and just drive around the neighborhoods and just be like, wait, these are like upper middle class kids that just destroyed us? Because there's this assumption that it's like, in order to be a good high school football team, you have to be this like gritty. I've had it hard. We got nothing, and we're earning our way out. And it's like, these kids live in Draper. Well, I guess there's a lot of Corner Canyon kids that probably don't actually live in Draper. But that's beyond. I don't know why I love it so much. It's like, it's a petty, terrible side of me. But I'm just like, put some respect on Utah high school football's name. And especially now, when I was playing, it's come so far. Light years, leaps and bounds. The coaching is better. The strength and conditioning, the nutrition, everything is better. And Utah now produces elite Division I talent on a very, very regular basis. It was still an anomaly when I was playing. And I was not one of those guys, so I don't know why I would take pride in it one way or another. But I just think it's so cool that, Corner Canyon has established itself as a national power. And I know that there are people deep in the high school football world now that don't like the methods with which, like, the open transfers and some of those things. Fine. don't talk to me about that. You have a top. They're ranked number 12, which rankings in high school football are even sillier than rankings in college football. But they're ranked number 12 in the country, and they just beat up on this team from South Florida, and I love it.
Yeah, you'll also love to see it.
Also, it is an important lesson in comeuppance that sometimes it's our young teenage kids who are on the receiving end of, and sometimes it's kids from South Florida or Sacramento or wherever that are on the receiving end of it. It's always a good thing when you're an old man like me now and you see a young teenage cocky fool jawing and chirping and talking and then have to eat the humble pie of a big loss. I would have been that kid, I'll be honest. I would have been the one front of the line jawing at Corner Canyon. So I can admit that. And I would have needed to be humbled that way. It's a valuable life lesson. That happened to Devontae Booker's old high school, the Grant High School in the Sacramento area, the Pacers. That happened to them this weekend. They were doing the thing where they were stomping on logos and chirping at the other team, and a kid got a penalty pregame because he physically ran into an opposing coach from the other team. So the referees were like trying to regulate pregame warm-ups and had to throw a flag. Anyway, and they got just mollywopped. They got destroyed. And that is a valuable lesson in humility. When you're a 17-year-old kid, it's better to have it in that setting than to have it when you're like 25 and you step out of line in a situation that can get dangerous. High school football is the exact right spot for people to learn that sometimes your mouth writes checks that your behind can't cash. I'd rather have kids learn that in high school football than in like a street fight or at a bar or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And let's see, Broward County. It was a Broward County High School.
West
Broward County High School. I mean, they got that comeuppance courtesy of Corner Canyon Chargers. I'm with you. I wish that some of that talent were to stay, or I'm with some of those coaches you were talking about. I wish some of that talent were allowed to stay in the actual school boundaries, but and it could be spread out amongst the state. But I mean, for better or worse, Corner Canyon is carrying the flag of Utah high school football for the nation, and in that setting, it should be something. If you're involved in Utah high school football, you were involved in Utah high school football, you should be pretty excited that there's a school from Utah, happens to be Corner Canyon, doing this on a national level. Even if you don't love the kind of questionable transferring, coloring outside the lines, kind of transfer things that they may or may not be doing.
James, I just Googled Utah football state champions by year. And with great pride, I can tell you that the first year listed on this particular database, 1950 Jordan High champion. Let's go.
All right.
Let's go. All right, we got to take a break. We're going to give away some Utah State Fair tickets next, a family 4-pack, if you can get the correct answer in our topical trivia. It's the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. 877-353-0700. I have a family 4-pack to the Utah State Fair. You can find details at ESPN700sports.com. The quarterback of Utah's season opener, your opponent is UCLA. Their quarterback is Nico Iamaleava. He was at Tennessee. In 2024, how many touchdown passes did Nico throw for the Volunteers? 877-353-0700. If you know that answer, family 4-pack to the Utah State Fair. Spence Checketts in the drive. Up next, Spence, welcome. How are you?
I'm good. I enjoy a good trip to the fair from time to time. It's a good time, especially if you have the kids.
Yeah,
affordable food.
I'm gonna have to try to snag a family 4-pack for myself and drag the little ones out there.
You know, you and I once had a debate about Disney adults. Are there fair adults? Like, are there adults that just cannot wait to crush a little state fair action and don't go with children?
I'm sure there are.
Probably.
I'm sure there are. There was a Disney adult headline last week that I wish I had been around to share with you, but it was, I think there were the metric when they did the study was that something like 37% of the people waiting in line to take pictures with Disney characters at the parks were Disney adults, were unaccompanied adults, no minors, no children with them.
37%?
Not to like go on the ride or enjoy the food, but to take pictures with Mickey Mouse.
That's a wildly high number.
That's insane.
If you asked me to guess, I don't know that I would have gone double digits. 37%.
Like way too many.
Sean, Pluto's over there. Got to run. Let's get in line quick.
Well, for Pluto, I would.
No, Pluto's a badass. I'm not. That's
Pluto.
not. This is not an anti-Pluto
How strange,
take.
by the way. Pluto's life's strange. He's a dog who's owned by a dog.
Yeah.
That's weird.
A rough one. Only in Disney.
Yeah.
But it's to me, it comes down to basic economics. Like you and your boys just crushing Disney for a weekend. If you stay at a nice hotel and if you eat in the park, you're spending thousands of dollars to go to Disney as a grown-up. I think that's a wild dynamic to me.
No, for a family of 4 to go to Disney right now, because you got to get the fast pass when you have little kids. They can't wait in line for 3 hours or whatever, so you're doing the fast pass and all that stuff. It is $2,000 a day.
For sure. And the cheapest food option is expensive. It's not good for you. I don't know how these people are actually making it through the day with the food they force you to eat once you're locked in the parks.
It's fantastic.
37%.
It's magic.
That's wild.
Anyway, start bench cut today is just purely aesthetic.
I saw.
Drum and feather, interlocking you, block you.
You got to roll drum and feather, don't you? All day, every day?
I say yeah.
Yeah. And then the other two I could do without. I mean, I'll cut both of them. I'm a drum and feather guy.
I like that.
Circle and feather, according to the Ute tribe. So
Correct.
let's get it right.
It's a circle and feather.
Yeah.
Drum and feather is a colloquial. It's kind of like chapstick at this point.
Sure.
You know? It's actually lip balm, but I call it chapstick because it's chapstick.
I'm not mad at you. So drum and feather all day long. I will say that that tilt in Dublin was not the best showcase for the Big 12 right out of the gates. It turned out to be a close game at the end, but there's a difference between a close game and a good game. A lot of anti-Big 12 sentiment after watching those two teams go at it.
Let's see how the ACC and the SEC and their teams look. Texas and Ohio State notwithstanding, let's see how everyone looks in week 1 and relax.
Also, the field looked horrible. Like if I'm either one of those coaches, I'm pretty upset that that's how I had to start my season.
You mean playing your opening game on a sodden grass field?
Yes, in front of an audience that didn't look all that excited to be there. I really believe trying to sell football to like Dublin, Ireland is trying to sell soccer to America. I mean, there will be a footprint, but I don't know that we'll ever be able to capture their imagination.
Well, Kansas State went and they got, they enjoyed their Guinness, and apparently Avery Johnson's dad and brother enjoyed it the most.
Wild behavior.
Yeah.
Wild behavior. At first, I was like, this can't be real. Felt like it was a joke, maybe staged to go viral. And then they released a statement, because they had to apologize to the institution. But not a great day for K-State. Certainly not a great day for Avery and his family.
Yeah. Bum deal.
Yep.
The other question I started the show with, favorite opening game memory for you with Utah football?
Ooh. I'll have to chew on that a little bit. Good question.
We got a lot of really good Michigan, the
I was
trip
going to
to
say,
Michigan.
was the Big House opening day? It was. That's right.
Yeah, that was an opening weekend game, as was Jim Harbaugh's debut as Michigan head coach here in Salt Lake City. That one is up there for me because, Kyle Whittingham behind the scenes was allegedly flexing his muscle to get the damn khaki bus off campus.
Nice.
Which I love. Texas A&M 04 season, 41-21. That's a good one.
Florida win.
Florida win.
The season didn't turn out like we thought it would.
Even the Florida loss for a lot of people was a great opening day memory because you're at the Swamp and, right down to the wire. So keep them coming, 877-353-0700. Opening day memories. The reason I feel comfortable asking a question like that is you don't have to wait much longer, people. We're almost there.
It's game week, man. And I think this is like a perfect opener. I like that it's on the road in a good venue. We'll see how Devin responds to that. It's an opponent that you should win. You're nearly a touchdown favorite. The line has stayed very steady at 6-5. I thought it would move a little bit. On the other hand, Tarleton State beat Portland State 42-0. BYU this morning, the line moved 6 points in their direction. They're now, at last check, a 43.5-point favorite over Portland State, but kind of a good opener dynamic when you're breaking in a true freshman as well. So game week, man, excited.
Stay tuned for The Drive with Spence Checketts, and the correct answer for the topical trivia, 19 touchdowns, 5 interceptions for Nico at Tennessee last year. He was the 10th best quarterback in the SEC. And according to Josh Lewin, he's all UCLA's got, apparently. Thanks for listening. We'll do it again tomorrow. It's the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700.